Newton Haven was our hometown, our playground, our universe, and that night it was the site of a heroic quest. The aim? To conquer the Golden Mile. 12 pubs along a legendary path of alcoholic indulgence. There was the first post, the old familiar, the famous cock, the cross hands, the good companions, the trusty servant, the two-headed dog, the mermaid, the beehive, the king's head, the hole in the wall, all before reaching our destiny, the world's end.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
I was in the theater and I booed. I've been a whiny, bratty baby about that. You got to be Captain America and you got to understand that reference.
Pigs in a blanket, yeah. Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
The greater good.
Hey,
Yeah.
awesome. Now, I know what you're thinking, listeners. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound like a man. And you would be correct. It is not. And I'll get to why that is the case in just a second. But let me first say that hello and thank you for listening. I'm so excited to this is the final installment of our month of Cheap Scare Reviews. It has been a really fun ride this month. If you've listened to it the entire time, we started with Paranormal Activity. That movie's still giving me bad dreams. We had Ebony as our guest on that show. And then we went on to Carrie, the movie Carrie, with our guest Carrie from the Dick Tales podcast. And then we followed that up with the epic film Morbius with Sarah from Bird in the Hand podcast. And then last week we did Nightmare on Elm Street 2 with Lindsay Washburn. So it's just one of those kind of like the month worked out where I was able to do 5 movies in a month, which is a lot of fun. But we end with The World's End. Now, not typically, scary, but it has some horror elements. And this movie was also put on the list for a few reasons. One, because we've already done the other 2 movies in the Cornetto Trilogy. And we really wanted to do this movie, and we thought this was going to fit. And our guest tonight was really excited to do that. So, who is our guest tonight? I will tell you right now. I am Shawn Allred. No, first I should say this is episode 419, and tonight we're talking about The World's End, which I have already said. I am Shawn Allred, and joining me tonight is Jenn. Like in real life, she is the only real woman. Oh, I messed up. Gosh dang it, I messed it up. Jenn, like in real life, in this movie, the only real woman saves the day. Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
I think I know where you're going with it. So yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, from My Streamming Buble podcast. That worked out better in my mind. The point I'm trying to get at is that there's only one real woman in the movie, and she ultimately saves the day, right? She's kind of our Deus Ex Machina, and my point is, like, you are both real and here to save the day. So
it's true. I'm real. I'm a real life human person.
Yeah.
Human woman. So
you are not a blank.
No, I'm not a blank, although I definitely have blank moments where I'm just like, what? But I just thank you for having me on. I feel kind of honored to be the final girl in your horror month. So quite the honor.
Well, there's a lot of interesting things that have happened here, right? So first of all, you are the final girl. I didn't really mean for it to schedule out that way, that I had all women on the show for this month. But I'm just going to be really honest. I really like having women on the show because, one, it's 3 dudes, and it's always nice to just have a very different opinion on movies. And we've had that, many times where I'm like, hey, this is how we view things. And then our woman guest would like, yeah, but this is how I view it. I'm like, oh my gosh. We had this great epiphany with an awesome guest on. We were talking about the Return of the Jedi. And she had this moment where she was like, Leia never gets to have her moment where she's like, oh my God, Darth Vader's my father. It's all about Luke. And I had never thought about that. I've seen that movie 100 times, and it never occurred to me that
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't get to have a moment. It's all
Yeah.
about Luke's feelings. Vader is my father, and you're my sister. Oh my gosh, he's your father? No, he's my dad too?
Mhm.
Anyway. So yes, we had, so I had a whole month of women on, which is fantastic. Secondly, I do want to get a little personal here. So Andrew couldn't make it tonight because he is in the throes of his graduate school, and frankly, just needed a week to focus on that and not this silly podcast. So I gave him the night off to do that. But more importantly, also, sadly, Sam lost his dad this weekend, this past week, and it's also very sad because obviously you lose a parent, but he lost his mom very recently also, and it's really hard on him. So if you're listening and you want to send him a message, you can either send me a message through Twitter, or you can just reach out to him directly if you know how to. But I can obviously funnel any kind of messages you want to send. So I just want to take 2 seconds here, just kind of have a moment for Sam and his family. Okay, so as we transition from that back into a podcast about silly things like about movies and whatever, I have that task of doing that. But I just wanted to let you, the listeners, know why the guys aren't here. But we also wanted to, and Sam and Andrew both wanted to make sure that we still had an episode. So Jenn is here with us, and I'm actually really excited for this because I've been on Jenn's show twice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just Jenn and I on those shows. So we've done this. This is old hat for us. We are pros at just talking to each other.
Absolutely. I'm really good at just talking to, just talking.
Yeah.
No one else has to be there, but it's nice when someone is. So
Exactly. So I was on your show for most recently Inception, and
Yep.
then
and I had to shift some stuff around. So that episode should be out November 6th, I think.
Okay.
I think that's a Sunday. So it's coming up next. But yeah, that was a really good one. And I'm really looking forward to even editing and getting to re-listen to it that way too.
Yeah. And then my first episode on your show, which is now I'm drawing a blank on, was
Nightcrawler.
Oh, that's right,
The
Nightcrawler.
creepy Jake Gyllenhaal and
Yeah.
not X-Man. X-Men.
That's right.
X-Man.
The next time we come on, I need to do a movie I haven't seen
Yeah.
yet. That'll be a lot of fun. But speaking of movies I haven't seen, I had not seen this movie. This is the third, like I said, in the Cornetto trilogy. I had seen the first two, and we've done both of them for the podcast. It was the first time I had seen any of them was on the podcast. I saw Hot Fuzz first, and then Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. That movie turned into one of my favorite buddy cop films, like top 5 buddy cop films. I mean, I love Hot Fuzz to death. It's just a comfort food for me. It is just so fun. And so I'm excited to talk about this because it's the same director, Edgar Wright, and it's the same actors. It's the same, kind of everything. But I'm going to be honest with you, Jenn. I had no clue what this movie was going into it. So I am going to tell you what IMDb says about it because this is all I knew about it, right? IMDb says 5 friends who reunite in an attempt to top their epic pub crawl from 20 years earlier unwittingly become humanity's only hope for survival. So I had no idea what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. Sam has seen this movie a handful of times and loves it, swears by it, says it's great. He was the driving force for us doing this movie for the show. And so of course I was excited to watch it, but I had no idea what it was about. In fact, I actually got it conflated with that other End of the World movie where it's like real, like the actors are playing themselves.
Oh, and that's the Seth Rogen and James Franco and Danny McBride and
that group.
All those bozos. Yep.
Yeah. like what's her name? I got Hermione Granger stuck in my head, but her real name, Emma Watson. Like she
Mhm.
shows up and like
Mhm.
beats them up and like takes their food and then leaves. And they're like, I just got my ass beat by Hermione Granger or something like that. Like
Mhm.
for some reason, I thought that's what this was.
Oh.
So I was kind of like, so I'm looking through the cast at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, none of these. There's none of those guys. There's none of those people in this. So I was really confused. And then when and then when the movie changed, like when the movie turned, I was like, "Oh, this is what this is." And I was pleasantly surprised.
Excellent.
So
Good
so
to hear.
so we're going to get into it real quick. So give us your 5-word review.
All right. So I have two 5 word reviews. The first one is love a good bestie fight,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Nick Frost kicks major ass.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. Oh, I loved. Oh my God. I'll admit I think I watched this movie back in like 2014, home on maternity leave, and I remember like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite out of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah.
And I actually I forgot like everything about this movie. So it was almost like a first time watch for me because I was like, oh my God, I forgot like there's this and that. And I was just like, and I admit I haven't been as kind to this movie in the past. My friend Laura and we covered Hot Fuzz, just for funsies. We weren't planning on doing the trilogy, and I wasn't about this movie, but I was like, it didn't really leave a lasting impression. So I'm kind of left with it. It was all right. But now I'm just like, oh, I need to take all of that back. And this movie is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say so. I think most people kind of feel like this is like the weak of the three.
Hmm.
It's the least funny of the three. But I you know that's like saying that Return of the Jedi is the weakest of the original trilogy, but they're all really good
Hmm.
in my opinion. Like these are like all this whole trilogy is really good,
Hmm.
and so I was really excited, very excited to watch it. This was it's so I'm not gonna lie. Pretty much all of the movies is for the Halloween movies, I've been a little hesitant on, right? So like Paranormal Activity genuinely bothered me, genuinely scared me. It got to me, right? And
Hmm.
I've admitted on the show, I've been given all kinds of grief for it. It is what it is. Just that kind of horror really worked. It's effective for me. And then Morbius is just a dumb whatever. Bad more. Carrie was good, and I was actually looking forward to watch Carrie, and I was looking forward to Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but could not have been more disappointed because of how much fun the first one is. Now
Hmm.
everyone keeps telling me, "Oh, wait until you get to the third one. Dream Warriors is so good," which we're gonna do. We're gonna do the whole trilogy or the whole series with Lindsay Washburn. She's gonna be our guide for Nightmare, but I was really excited to watch this one just because I love Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and all these guys. And I'll have to say this. Simon Pegg's character drove me crazy the entire movie
Hmm.
because like most times when you have a movie where the main character is kind of aloof or kind of sucks or whatever, by the end of the movie they have like a redeeming moment, right? They have their moment, right?
Hmm.
Simon Pegg never changes. In fact,
Uh-uh.
they quote unquote win because he still sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it just he wins because they quote unquote win. They make the aliens leave because they just get tired of arguing with him.
Hmm.
and it's really I mean, like ultimately, like they are kind of the you know responsible for the demise of the human race.
Hmm.
Um, but it was still really funny. But it was interesting. Simon Pegg's character. I mean, it was also really, different seeing Nick Frost play the straight man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Simon's character, Gary King, I think just seeing Simon in that kind of role and playing that kind of character is and having that character be so freaking obnoxious and annoying is what was I think is what was put me off the first time I had watched it because I wasn't used to seeing Simon in a role like that. And then yeah, Nick to be like more of like the straight man in the role between the two. It just felt like bizarro world and I wasn't ready for that or willing to accept it. But
Yeah.
now, cut to, 8 years later, I'm just like, hell yeah. I'm, after seeing a bit more of their work individually and whatnot, I'm just like, anything with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I don't care what it is anymore. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, it was. I mean, he sucks the whole time. I took very few notes. So
Mhm.
I have a rule, or not a rule. There's like a rule of thumb with me that if I take a lot of notes, that usually means that I didn't like the movie. Because that means I'm constantly just writing and you're like complaining about the movie. I
Mhm.
took very few notes. If you don't count the times that I write down the time code to pull the clip, then I took one. No, I took 1, 2, 3, 4 notes. 5. I took 5 notes.
Mhm.
5 total notes. I literally wrote, I really don't like Simon Pegg so far. I didn't know England had emissions tests for their cars.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was kind of surprising to me, mainly because we have them in North Carolina where I live, but they're not in South Carolina where I used to live. And there's some political, reasons there, but also my dad would just say, well, that's because North Carolina likes to tax you more than South Carolina. That's what my dad would say.
Mhm.
Because an emissions test is just a tax on owning your car.
Yep.
So I didn't know that. That was, oh, it's an emissions test. Okay. Then the next thing is, okay, now things are getting weird, right?
Mhm.
So that was after the fight scene in the bathroom. And I'm still being kind of cagey. We haven't really talked about what the flip is yet. And then I wrote, it's a good thing that they're fragile, right?
Yep.
Because I'm saying, like, if these things were like Terminators, then this would be a short movie.
Yep.
They would have
Oh
all
yeah, they'd
died in
all
the
be.
bathroom. But the fact that these things are like made out of, like Reese's candy shell,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like these guys, like you can just punch them and they die.
Yeah, it seemed like for a while the group there, King and his homies, like it almost seemed like a couple of times like they had super strength
Yeah.
because they were just so easily beating the crap out of these things. But it made it so entertaining to
It did
watch.
make it entertaining because, and you're right, because it does kind of make them. I mean, like Okay, so okay, this movie is what 10 years old, 12 years old. So here's the spoiler. This is the big flip. The town that they go back to do the epic pub crawl has been replaced with these kind of alien replicants, right? I like the word replicant. They use the word
Yeah.
blanks. But they're robots, but they're not robots because robot means slave. And they're made of, they have like blue goo inside of them or whatever. But they must not weigh very much because these guys are like picking them up and like throwing them.
Mhm.
And I was at one point when there's a couple of fight scenes where they're doing some pretty significant martial arts happening, right?
Yeah.
And all I could think of in the moment was, I wonder, there would have been a really funny moment if like Simon Pegg, like, because the one guy, Eddie Marsden, I can't remember his character name, the guy from Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. I just had it and now I can't think of it. Oh my God. Shawn, you broke my brain.
I do.
Oh,
I'm
hell. What
scrolling
is
through.
it?
Peter, he was Peter.
Okay.
I had to
Yeah.
scroll through IMDb. He was like the only one that didn't ever fight anyone until when he had his moment where he got to beat up the bully, his bully. But
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, he just hid.
Yeah.
But there was but Simon Pegg is like he's holding his own by himself in that bathroom with that the one, right?
Yep.
And when the other guys kind of barge in this to see what's going on, and then they have the big fight scene, he's still kind of holding his own for the most part. I mean, he's nunchucking with these arms and saying like he's doing some good fighting choreography. And I was waiting for the line for one of them to go, "Where did you learn to fight like that?" And I was waiting for something like, "Oh, I dated a karate instructor," or I was waiting
Mm-hmm.
for some kind of throwaway line that would explain why he's so good, right? Because like with Nick Frost's character, like we established early that he was a rugby player, so he's gonna
Yeah.
be strong
Yep.
and still have maybe not punching ability, you know what I'm saying? But like he's a strong guy. Like he was an athlete.
Yep.
And like so when he picked up those bar stools and turned into freaking Jackie Chan, it was great.
It was. Yeah. I loved yeah, like I said, so it really felt like a first time rewatch. So I loved the fight sequences. They were just so much fun and really just kind of felt like just a small extension from like Hot Fuzz and their action sequences. And even though that's like their action movie and this one is their, sci-fi one or whatever, because they had their zombies, action, sci-fi. It just there's always, like the running gags, and there's always like a couple of things that run through the three movies that feels just like adding continuity, adding those Easter eggs and making it fun to watch. And I think the fight sequences, especially in this one after watching Hot Fuzz, definitely feels like that, because some of the stylized shots of the quick like door closing, or the beer pouring, for beer, water, all felt very reminiscent. And it's, like you said, the same, director and everything, so they've got a style. But I love it, and it just makes it so much fun and so enthralling. And like you, I have very few notes. My notes are mostly what I thought would have been on the trivia. So I'm just like, I'm writing like every little thing I see like in the background.
Yeah.
But I didn't get very far, because I'm just like you said, once things kind of took a turn for the weird, I was like, wait a minute, what happens in this movie again? And so I was just like all in. I was like, I cannot believe I forgot all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fight scenes, they're great. They're a lot of fun. The Nick Frost, I love seeing him kick all this ass. And he was in a TV series, Into the Badlands. And I think he came in like a later season, and we watched only bits and pieces, but he does some like pretty serious kicking, not kissing, maybe a little kissing. I don't know. We
Yeah,
didn't follow it
he's an
deeply.
actor. Who knows? You never know with
Yeah.
those things.
So it was very fun to kind of see him just be just a badass, and then remember that I believe his character was pretty badass in Into the Badlands. I should really watch that series, but it was fun, and it's always amazing and great to see a larger person just be that force and not just like a joke or anything like that, because of their size. But he was, probably because of his rugby background, was like just, I'm trying really hard not to swear, but just a real freaking badass.
I appreciate that. If you have to let it fly, it's fine. I can edit it later. Yeah, I'm looking at this Into the Badlands show. This looks really interesting. I need to watch this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
a
got it.
mighty warrior and a young boy with supernatural powers search for enlightenment in a ruthless post-apocalyptic America controlled by feudal barons.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel Wu, uh, most of these I've never heard of. But then you get a little bit farther down, and Nick Frost is in 26 episodes. So it looks like he's in two of the 3 seasons. And then it's also got Martin Sokas. He basically, like, anytime you have a movie where you need a Middle or a Eastern European bad guy, you call him.
Oh.
Stephen Lang is in 13 episodes. So if you just need a crazy general kind of guy, you call Stephen Lang. He was the bad guy general man from Avatar.
The blue alien people
Yes, not
Avatar?
yeah, not
Oh, okay,
Avatar,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Last
Eh.
Airbender. So anyway,
Yeah.
but
We don't
there's.
acknowledge either of those Avatar movies in this house, so that's
Oh, you don't even like the blue people avatars?
when my husband and I watched it, we had rented it, didn't get to see it in the theater, and when we finished the movie, we were just really unsure as to what all the hype was about. I was like, this feels like we just weren't a fan of it. And so we just couldn't really get into why. And I suppose maybe it's just all the special effects and we missed out not seeing it on the big screen because we're like, well, that could maybe be it, but I wasn't super enthralled with the overall storyline, but the effects were pretty.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, let's be fair. You've seen that movie before. It's called Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
It's the same movie. They just made it, very CGI, whatever. Awkward pause. I did see it in the theater. Sam saw it in 3D and, was blown away. I saw it in theater, but not 3D. And, it's fine. It's a good movie. It's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just like, honestly, like if it was on and I'm scrolling, I'm just gonna keep scrolling.
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
find something else to watch. But and as far as Avatar: The Last Airbender, the M. Night Shyamalan abomination, I also saw that in the theater, and boy was I. That was the
Oh.
closest I have ever been to walking out of a theater.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I
Yeah.
would not have blamed you at all. My oldest son had watched the whole series, Avatar Airbender, and we loved it. So he's like, oh, well, I want to watch the movie. And I hadn't seen the movie, I'd only heard terrible things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think you're going to want to watch this. And he's like, no, I still want to do it. So we watched it. And the second they started mispronouncing character names, he started losing it,
Yeah.
and he gets his like rage watch from me, so he's like screaming stuff at the TV, and now he also refers to that movie as an abomination. I'm like, I tried telling you, listen to your mother once in a while.
Yeah, when it was first coming out, I was pretty excited that they were doing it, but I remember thinking, how are they going to do a 2-hour movie from book 1? Like
Mhm.
there's so much they have to cover. And but yeah, the first time he's like, "Hi, my name is Ong." I'm like, "Wait,
Ugh.
why would you change it?"
Yeah.
Like I don't understand because Shyamalan was like, "Well, we wanted to do it in the original Japanese pronunciation or whatever." But the creators of the show, it's not like the
Mhm.
cartoon is based on a book and we don't know how it was pronounced. So there's
Right.
interpretation. These people created the art and said, "This is how you pronounce Aang and Sokka." And they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, my name is Ong and Soka."
Ugh.
No, that's not right. And no, I could probably spend 30 minutes just complaining about that movie. Honestly, the two biggest real complaints, not even the name thing, is the Sokka character is completely wrong. I mean, he's not funny. He's not
Mhm.
clever. He's kind of a brooding teenager the whole movie. And the bending is awful. The bending was so bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kung fu happening and very little bending happening. It was very strange. Anyway, don't go
Yeah.
watch that movie. Just don't. I won't even let my son watch it. And um we've actually watched the whole Avatar series twice in my house with
Mhm.
my kids. But obviously it didn't leave enough an impression because the other day, like 2 days ago, what was it that we said? My wife made a joke. I'm trying to think of what she said. I think she just said something about, "Oh, we have to go down to the secret tunnel." And I went, "Secret tunnel." And then my son was like, "What does that mean?" And we're like,
Oh,
"Wait, what? You've seen Avatar twice." And he goes, "That's from Avatar?" I said, "Well, it's time for a rewatch."
there you go.
So,
That's solid parenting.
oh yeah, we've watched and we did The Legend of Korra. We did it. We've done that one
Mhm.
once, and so we'll do it again.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch it. I've seen Avatar. I mean, we were watching it. My wife and I were watching it when it was coming out.
Oh, Nice.
I mean, we sat and popped popcorn and made nachos for the 4-episode finale.
Oh,
I mean, it was
fun.
a thing because we were into
Oh,
it. We were into it. So that was
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so The World's End.
Sorry. Didn't mean
No,
to tangent on
I'm
the
responsible for
avatars
that
and
one. It's fine. I'm totally responsible for that one. So my 5-word review is Epic Pub Crawl of Death.
that's a very good one.
The thing that I really some of the things I really liked about the movie. One, it is funny. It definitely is an Edgar Wright film. I love Edgar Wright does this, and so does Sam Raimi when they do the quick cuts when
Mhm.
we're trying to show you something, right? The quick beer pours, getting in and out of the car, little things like that. Sam Raimi does it, like when Ash is putting on the chainsaw and getting geared up. All these quick zooms and quick push-ins. I love that stuff. I really do. I every movie should do that. I know they shouldn't, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
I like that stuff. I really do. And Edgar Wright does it great. Also, I have gotten into arguments with my brother-in-law about Baby Driver because I think Baby Driver is great and
Oh,
he hated it.
okay.
Be-
That one I haven't seen yet, but that's the one where the movie was basically built around the soundtrack
yeah.
or filmed or something. Okay.
Yeah, the music has a huge, it plays a huge role. I mean, it literally is a voice in the movie.
Hmm.
But don't go into it thinking you're getting a Fast and the Furious movie because it's not. It's darker than any of the Fast and Furiouses. It's I mean, it's gritty, and there's actually for a movie called Baby Driver, there's probably less driving than you think is going to be in it, but
Okay.
it's still a really good movie, and I will defend anything that Edgar Wright makes. So anyway, I love all that stuff in this movie. Yeah, I already said that the Simon Pegg character kind of annoyed me a lot, but I also really liked that they kill some of the guys. I mean, some of the group dies. Now they have a faux happy ending where the blank versions of them go back to being what they were,
Hmm.
but they die.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard. And
Yeah.
also that Simon Pegg doesn't end up with the girl,
Yeah.
which is
Thank God.
weird, right? But like in a
Mhm.
movie like this, it would be where he saves her. And I complain about this all the time in movies when the hero and the heroine end up together
Mhm.
because the plot told them to, but they don't
Mhm.
earn it. We watched a movie recently where we did this. What did we watch recently? Nightmare on Elm Street 2. The literally the guy is being possessed by Freddy, right? And the
Mhm.
girl by the time we get towards the end of the movie, she's like, "I love you," and we're like, "Why?" This
Yeah.
whole movie, he sucks. He sucks, to you. The one time where you start getting, physically intimate, he has a moment with Freddy, but like you don't know that he just runs away. So for
Mhm.
all you know, he's repulsed by you. Like I never understood that. So I like the fact that not only does the movie not do that, but they went so far as to not do it, is that she ends up with the other guy. She ends up with the sidekick, the tertiary sidekick, not even the best friend.
Mhm.
And I thought that was actually really kind of nice. And then Simon Pegg's character ends up as the leader of a roving band of marauders.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then it's like, okay, so then what is their purpose? They go into the one pub and they order their waters and they don't want to, the place doesn't want to serve blanks. So now they have to kill everyone.
yeah, he pulls out his big broadsword like they're gonna again. We've already established that the blanks are kind of fragile. I feel like they're gonna lose that fight.
Yeah.
There was a lot of big, bald, tattooed men in that bar. I feel like they're gonna lose,
Mhm.
but it was just a funny way to kind of end where he pulls out that big broadsword
I know.
because he's gonna like I said he's the same. He's just gonna do what he does, and I'm the
Yeah.
king, and
Yeah.
it was just so weird. It was
And
such a weird ending.
I agree. I don't like when there's like forced romantic pairings, or just a love interest for the sake of we need to have one in a movie. Uh, after watching the first Matrix and the whole like you're the one and the sparks and everything, I was in the theater and I booed and I got so freaking mad. And I haven't watched any of the other Matrix movies, and everyone's like, no, no, but it's really important. I'm like, I don't care. That made me mad.
You don't really need to
So
see them, but it's fine.
I've been a whiny bratty baby about that, but yes, I agree that I love that he doesn't end up with Sam and she ends up with Steven, I think
Yeah.
was the other guy's name. And it's like, because that's not what Gary King wanted. It's like, oh yeah, he thought maybe he wanted the girl, but just in that kind of reliving the past
He
kind
just
of
wanted to
way.
have sex with her. He didn't want to like be with her.
Exactly. And so where he ends up, his quote kind of like happily ever after, that's really all he ever wanted was to be the head honcho of the group, and he's running around with like the high school versions of his buddies, and it's like he got his wish. He is
Yeah.
the only Gary King. That's all he's ever wanted was to kind of, so in his own way he was able to go back in time and kind of relive out, and then yeah, I don't know, do the murders across this like wasteland and just killing random humans and to preserve the blanks. That's so weird.
Yeah. It is weird. It is weird. I just I
Because
don't.
it's like they're fighting for, they get into that argument with the computer or whatever, which is hilarious because anyone who's been sober around their super drunk friends has been computer before and was like, F it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm done. You guys are walking home. I hate you all.
Yeah. Well,
So I loved that.
if Sam were going to be here tonight, if he were on the show tonight, I would basically say you are Simon Pegg to me as the network because there are so many times when we will have arguments on the podcast. Now, Sam loves to push my buttons and he knows how to.
Mhm,
And we've had whole episodes to get derailed because he just decides that he's going to make an argument. And for whatever reason, I can't let it go.
mhm,
I don't have that ability when I know someone is wrong and they're being wrong on purpose, I have to correct them and it
mhm.
drives me crazy. The longest argument that we've had is I don't remember if we actually watched the movie or not, but we were talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones. Well, she is from Wales. She is Welsh.
Mhm.
Her father, I think, is from I don't want to. I have to Google it. He is Latin descent, right?
Mhm.
Catherine, I gotta get this right because if I'm gonna yell at Sam about it, I gotta get it right. And he will listen to this episode. If he doesn't make it, he usually listens. So she's from her father is from. Hold on, gosh dang it, this is taking longer than I meant to. Is David James Jones. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. James. It doesn't say. Anyway, she is of Latin, descent, but she is herself born in Wales.
Mhm.
So in the movie Zorro, she is playing a woman from Spain.
Mhm.
But Sam keeps saying she's from Mexico, that she's Mexican. And so like that became like a thing for like a long time. Is like, oh no, she's Mexican. I'm like, but she didn't even play Mexican in the movie. You think she's, you know,
Oh,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
yeah, it's a thing. So I'm trying to find it. It's driving me crazy, but I can't find it. Her dad. Well, it doesn't matter. Children, spouse, parents. Yeah, Patricia Fair and David James Jones. And David James Jones is like the whitest name I've ever heard.
Mhm.
So
David James Jones. That's like, ugh. That's getting close to like two first names. Well, three first names. Close.
yeah. Anyway, the point is, she was offered the role of Trinity in The Matrix, but declined. That would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Huh.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the point is that I don't know what the point is. The point is that I'm the Sam would have argued with me, and so maybe that's why he likes this movie so much. He wanted to do this movie so much with me was just to have some more arguments in the movie, which is
Well, hopefully when he's listening, he has enough moments where he's like screaming at the podcast player at you or something, and so
oh
he kind of
he'll
live that way.
definitely text me
Yeah.
as he's listening and just he'll yeah, I know he will.
Awesome.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about the movie itself before I play a few clips? Because I have some clips.
Let's see. I'm just trying to think because, like I said, I don't have a lot of notes other than just what I thought was maybe going to be trivia stuff. So, like the last thing I have written was smashy Eggman. But that was also kind of a fun part. So they're drunk and trying to come up with different ways to, different names to call the blanks since they can't call them robots
Yeah.
because robots are, slaves and all of that. And that was interesting. Oh, okay. So kind of the ongoing gag of Gary and Sam, in high school and doing it in the bathrooms, but not just any old bathroom or stall, the disabled
Yeah.
bathrooms. And so the number of times, and especially with the way they kind of say their goodbyes and they're like, we'll always have the disabled
Yeah.
had me on the floor. I was like, oh no, you didn't. But it was just pure comedy and just this movie is so funny. I didn't remember it being this funny, but it's just that writing and that I don't know, that British humor and a lot of like kind of quick quips back and forth and quick little digs and then so I didn't catch them all, but this time I'm just like, damn, this movie is really funny. Just the little snide comments or the little giggles, especially the little giggles because they're hammered.
Yeah.
So it's just yeah, this movie is a lot more fun than I remembered, and I'm really glad that this gave me the opportunity to revisit it and kind of apologize. I was never that mean to this movie, but and I would say it's probably still my third favorite out of the Cornetto trilogy, but it's definitely a lot harder to place it there now than it was before.
Yeah.
So Hot Fuzz is my absolute favorite. As much as I love Shaun of the Dead, I loved the role for those characters. And I really do love Nick Frost in this and yeah, him playing that straight man and then just being a total ass kicking badass. So much fun.
I too kind of like Hot Fuzz a little bit over Shaun of the Dead, mainly because I like the buddy cop genre,
Mhm.
and there's also just something a lot of fun about the trope of the super cop goes to the little town and finds like the world's biggest, like all of the murders and things like that. I like that trope. I think it's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And the guys that are in the movie, like they no one respects him there except Nick Frost. They become best friends, and they. But like Nick Frost's character, like he transforms, right? So
Mhm.
I'm glad we're talking about this because I did find this in the trivia. This isn't trivia, but it's just I thought that was interesting. Somewhat unusually for a comedic duo, generally actors tend to reprise the part of the straight man and the funny man. Each movie of the Cornetto trilogy features a different dynamic between the characters played by the co-stars Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. In Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg plays an average schlubby guy and Frost an irresponsible man-child. In Hot Fuzz, Pegg plays the uptight professional and Frost an average schlubby guy. In The World's End, Pegg plays the irresponsible man-child and Frost the straight man.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I did like that a lot. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it and it just kind of shows And I like that they changed it up, and so that they didn't like pigeonhole themselves or risk being typecast to kind of be like, look, we can do both of them. So and I think it works really well. But I again, I think that was part of the reason why I was maybe put off a little first time watching this movie. But I'm pretty sure I watched it when I was on maternity leave, so I'm gonna chalk it up to sleep deprivation as well.
Sure, that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the kind of the theme with all three of these movies. You've got the zombies, you got the cults, and then you've got these nobots, which was something else I had also written down thinking it was going to be a trivia question.
Yeah.
Uh, um, is just the way that society changes, or the way, like zombies are taken over. That's, that's an infestation of the dead. Then you have a cult. You have an infestation of humans trying to, quote, better things for the greater good.
Yeah.
And now you've got the aliens, the network trying to do pretty much kind of the same thing on the grander scale. So I, and then the way that these two in all three movies team up to try and stop it. It's something I hadn't really thought about or noticed, but this time around I was like, huh, they've got kind of a running theme here. The downfall of society and how they'd manage it, I guess, or something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. You ready for some clips? Because I got some clips. Because,
Yes.
oh my goodness, did this movie have some things to record. All right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about the movie is the dialogue, the quick back and forth. I'm always a fan of quick, witty dialogue,
Mhm.
things that go back and forth. And Pegg is just so good at this. So here we go. This is what happens when you fall, when you get back on the horse.
I am here to tell you that Gary King is back on the horse.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're back on the horse.
No, I mean, I'm back on the bike.
What's bike?
What do you mean?
What's bike slang for?
Bicycle.
I'm lost.
Don't be.
Okay.
Listen, this is our chance to finally finish what we started. Come on.
I'm lost. Don't be. I love it. I love it so much. Oh my gosh.
Gotta start using that. Don't be.
Well,
Don't
I
be.
also like
Stop.
that he says I'm back on the horse, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
"Wait, you're back on whores?" He goes, "No, I'm on the bike." What's bike slang for? It's bicycle.
Oh, it's so funny.
It is, and I will say this: I don't normally like dumb humor, meaning we're laughing at someone because they're ignorant. I
Mhm.
don't normally like that kind of humor, but for some reason it works in this movie, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's his delivery. Again, like you kind of don't like him as a character. He kind of sucks. Gary King sucks,
Mhm.
and you're almost annoyed that he still gets to fulfill his dream at the end. But you know, it's still fun. Here's more Simon Pegg saying fun things.
Drink up. Let's boo-boo. Boo-boo? What is that? You remember Let's Boo-boo? You know, from Mr. Shepherd's classroom, it said on the wall, "Exit pursued by a bear," you know, from that Shakespeare play?
A Winter's Tale.
Yeah. What was it called?
A Winter's Tale.
That's it. And if we needed to make a quick getaway, we'd say, "Exit pursued by a bear." And then it was, "Exit pursued by Yogi Bear." And then it was just, "Let's Yogi and Boo-boo." And then, "Let's Boo-boo."
So you're saying we should go?
Yeah, it's shit here, isn't it?
Why it plays extra. So let's boo-boo. That was pretty. So when I said last night that I was doing this movie, TV's Travis commented, "Let's boo-boo." Well, I hadn't gotten to that part yet, so I didn't know what that meant. And then about 5 minutes later, I get to this scene. I go, "Hey, I know what that means now."
You got to be Captain America, and you got to understand that reference.
Yes. Perfect. Oh, I love it. All right. WTF.
WTF, Gary. WTF.
What the f*** does WTF mean?
What the f***?
Oh,
There is so much of this movie where someone said something, he doesn't understand it, and then someone else said something, and then he understands it. There's so many times that happens.
Yeah, selective memory, all that bit,
Yeah.
that whole kind of bit throughout the movie.
Yeah, somebody has selective memory. Oh, me.
Oh, yeah, maybe it is just Simon's delivery of these, and maybe I don't know. I can't help answer your question, but it is kind of interesting how he kind of I don't how do I want to put like I don't- lack of a better phrase, like kind of flips it on you. A type of comedy or whatever that you don't normally like or care for, and here it is with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but just something about their magical way of doing it and being them. Maybe I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's so good, and they're both so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is our second Let's Boo Boo.
The way I see it, we've told everybody we're doing the Golden Mile. You did. If we suddenly jump in the beast now and head for the hills, they're going to know that we know. But if we keep doing what we're doing and going where we're going, then they're not going to know. Know what? That we know. I suggest we finish what we started and leave quietly in the morning. Wait, you're really suggesting?
We finished the Golden Mile. It's pointless arguing with him. Drink up. Let's boo-boo.
Now, the one thing that this movie does well, that good movies do, is when they give you something at the beginning and middle, and then it pays off later, right?
Hmm.
So the whole "it's pointless to argue with him," right? That line is said 4 or 5 times in the movie, ultimately leading to the outcome of the movie when the aliens just decide to just give up and leave Earth, right?
Yep.
And in doing so, wrecks the planet. But I was waiting for the Let's Boo Boo to happen one more time. I was waiting for, because usually comedy is in threes.
Hmm.
And so we had the first one and then we had the second one. And at some point I was waiting for, in the finale, for the Let's Boo Boo to happen. And it didn't come back. And I was a little bummed out. I was waiting for the third one.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway. Robots.
Do you even know what robot means?
Of course I do. It's like, hello, I am a robot.
It means slave. Believe me, they're not slaves. Are you
Slave. I love the way he
Slave.
says slave. Slave.
I didn't realize how much it kind of sounded like sleeve too.
Sleeve, yeah.
Sleeve.
Sleeve.
Ah,
What's wrong with your
accents, they're
sleeve?
fun.
It's my sleeve. Oh, okay. If Andrew were here, he can do a really good Scottish accent. He'd be all over this movie. He's
Oh,
legit really good at it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love accents. I can do like 2 or 3 kind of like just not super offensively,
Yeah.
but Scottish and Irish are definitely not on that list.
Yeah.
But I love a good Scottish Irish accent.
I can repeat phrases in an accent that I've heard. Like sleeve. I can
Hmm.
say that because I just heard it. Now
Yeah. Yep.
tomorrow I can't say that again. But I can't say anything leading up to sleeve. We're not slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't lead up to that. But because I heard it, I can. But so like there was a running joke, like the guys love to say, "Hey Shawn, say the one accent you can do," and it's because from the Shrek movies, the 3 little pigs,
Hmm.
and when they do that, pigs in a blanket, yeah, like that's the only German accent that I can do, right? So on our 400th episode, if you're listening to this episode because you're here listening because of you're a listener of Jenn, go back and listen to our 400th episode where we did a bit where we had to read lines of movie line quotes in accents, and our guests tried to guess what movie. But of course, they gave me accents that I can't do, but I can't do any accent, so it was fine.
Oh my God, definitely will need to make sure I cue that one up. And so
It's
yeah,
it's
love it.
trip. Yeah, for the 400th episode, we had a bunch of guests that we had on over the last year, kind of like our battle of the Cheapseat Reviews All Star is what we called it.
Yep.
And we had a lot of fun. It was an absolute blast. But yeah, we and of course Sam created one of the trivia questions Sam created was, where does Sam think Catherine Zeta-Jones is from? and in fact, Mexico was the answer.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Because when he originally wrote the question, he wrote, where is she from? And I'm like, well, no, because then people are going to guess Wales and be right, but you're going to count it as wrong. And he goes, okay, fine. What if I did it this way? So we had a good time
Oh,
with it. Love you, Sam. Love you, buddy.
love it. Oh,
All
that
right.
is amazing.
Pronoun. This bit
I already know what it is.
this bit had me rolling. I had tears in my eyes when this bit comes in. So here you go. Pronoun.
We need to be able to differentiate between them, and us.
Yeah, I think the pronouns are really confusing.
Yes, I don't even know what a pronoun is.
Well, it's a word that can function by itself as a noun, which refers to something else in the discourse.
I don't get it.
You just use one.
Did I?
Yeah, it is a pronoun.
What is?
It.
Is it?
Christ, no.
Just so we can identify who's who. He's a blank. She's a blank. Those two people are definitely blanks.
But it's Nick Frost's just exasperation of the moment is just so funny.
It really is.
And the visual is better than just the audio because like he slams his head down like he can't believe that this man has survived as long as he has in the human world. He doesn't know what a pronoun is. Oh, it cracks me up. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God. Yeah, like you said, Nick Frost, his reaction to that just really kind of helps make that scene hilarious. He is, and I feel like we've all been there, especially with a drunk friend, and you're trying to explain to them, I mean, anything.
Yeah. I'll tell
So
you off
awesome.
air a good drunk story for it. It'll be a good time. All right, last clip here. This is Bill Nighy as the network.
Then you have made your choice, Gary, king of the humans.
Yeah, I have. Because, frankly, who the f*** are you to come down here and tell us what to do?
We are the network, and we are here for your betterment. In the last 23 years, have you not marveled as information technology has surged forward?
No.
Earth has grown smaller yet greater as connectivity has grown. This is our doing, and it is just the beginning.
Oh, f*** off, you big lamb.
I hope if you're listening, you enjoyed that as much as we did. But I mean, of course, it's not. This is definitely an episode where I think it matters if you watch the movie because that's not going to be funny if you haven't seen the movie. You don't realize that Bill Nighy is literally a glowing light bulb in the sky.
Mhm.
You know, so when he calls him you lamp, it's just so funny. And I just love the way he just says no.
Yeah.
It just that
Then you,
Frankly, who to do?
and we are here for your... In the last 23 years, have you not marveled as information technology has surged forward?
No.
No.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Oh, and I
really
just
is.
like how he said, I mean, it's almost like the way he says no, it's like he doesn't understand the question, so he's not even going to bother to
Yeah.
try and answer it or address it and just, nope, let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's probably true. Like the idea that, you know, cell phone technology, and this is 2014, right? I mean, we had smartphones. Now he's still using an old ass, you know, phone or whatever, but you know, smartphones were a
yeah.
thing, and he's no,
Now,
don't care.
and of course Gary's not going to care. If it's not going to help him relive, you know, his old glory days of high school and
Yeah.
being the king then, like, what does he care? So,
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the next segment, which is going to be brought to you by.
Hey Bubblies, I'm Jenn, and I'd like to invite you to my bubble. My Streaming Buble, that is. And it's the podcast where I talk about the shows that I love with the people I tolerate. Every week, I tolerate a friend so we can obsess over our favorite streamable contributions to pop culture entertainment. So join us every Sunday on a podcast player near you and keep streaming. Bye!
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
This week, well, we're not going to have a game. One, because Andrew writes the game, and he's not here. And I thought, well, there's no point in playing, you know, I could read some trivia, which I did do, and we're going to do a little bit of trivia, but we're actually going to play a different game, a game we have never played on Cheap Seat Reviews. So, real quick, the bartenders of the first two bars are, by complete coincidence, real-life cousins Teddy Kepner and Mark Kepner, who hadn't seen each other in years until they were reunited at the audition, according to director Edgar Wright. And the poster for the King's Head Pub features Simon Pegg as the king in a painted portrait, which I immediately noticed when I saw it. I'm like, man, that looks like Simon Pegg. But hold on, I gotta have something here. Hold on, I have to have a clip here. Let's see. This is good podcasting here while I'm trying to think. What? Give me a second. I gotta think. What Nicolas Cage movies have we done on the podcast? Gosh dang it. Con Air. Let's see. We have no. None of these are him. Oh, here we go.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
All right. This segment is a segment that we are stealing, borrowing from My Streaming Buble. But
it's part of the crossover, right?
Yeah, it's the crossover, yeah.
The crossover, yeah.
Jenn does this on her show. She does a 6 degrees of separation of Nicolas Cage because Jenn has an unhealthy obsession with Nicolas Cage.
I'm so glad you picked up on that.
So I gave her about a 5-minute head start warning on this. This was literally an idea that we had right before the show started. So we'll see how well thought out it is. I have 2. Jenn, you have 1. So I'll do one of mine first, and then you do yours, then I'll do my other one.
Sounds good.
All right. So the longer one that I have is Pierce Brosnan is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in a movie called GoldenEye, the James Bond movie, with Sean Bean. Sean Bean is in National Treasure with Nicolas Cage.
Very good. Also, Sean Bean's name just wigs out my brain. Every time I see it written, I say I say Sheen Bean.
Oh yeah,
that's what my brain wants to do. And sorry, dude, that's just how your name's pronounced in this house. You're Sheen Bean.
Yeah, and I also have this.
Had we lost the war, they would have been hanged, beheaded, drawn and quartered, and oh, my personal favorite, had their entrails cut out and burned.
There you go. I don't have a clip from the other movie that he's in because we have not done that movie yet. So we'll see if I have a clip that you have.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's see. So mine, I went with Nick Frost, and he plays Santa Claus in a Doctor Who episode with Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi was in The Suicide Squad as the Thinker with Joel Kinnaman, who played Rick Flag. Joel Kinnaman was also RoboCop in the RoboCop remake. And also in that movie is Jay Baruchel, who was in Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Jay Baruchel, yeah.
Baruchel, thank you. I've never been able to pronounce that kid's last name, but I enjoy him. I think he's adorable, but yeah.
We've not done that movie, but the closest thing I have to that is I have the music for that movie on my computer.
Nice.
Yeah, the Trevor Raven version is really good.
Yeah. I love The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think that's just a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. I like it a lot too. And I actually like Nicolas Cage in it because he's playing kind of a weird fish out of water guy. And I think he plays that role well.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you get to let him be a little weird in your movie, I think it's better than if he's trying to play the straight guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love Nicolas Cage. I have a whole episode where we talked about a bunch of his movies. I think Pig was the most recent one at that time. So, and then just the other day, I got my Cage crew back together and we did Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and Prisoners of the Ghostland. So, yes, I do have an unhealthy obsession with Nicolas Cage. I have for the longest time, and now kind of with Pig and Unbearable Weight, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Nicolas Cage, he's so great. Like, I am Nicolas Cage, and oh no, what's his name? Doogie Howser. Shit, what's his name? It doesn't matter. It does matter. But in the movie, they're just like, oh, Nicolas Cage is back, but not that he went anywhere because he hasn't. For those that have been paying attention,
Nice.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil
Okay,
Patrick Harris. There you go. Good
Oh
job.
Jesus, that was gonna bother me forever.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm with you. I would have looked it up here in a moment anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So my other 6 degrees of Nicolas Cage was actually rather easy. Bill Nighy, or Nye, I think it's Nighy, was in a movie called Astro Boy, which stars Nicolas Cage.
There you go. Yep.
So it's just one.
Very good. It's really easy to get to Nicolas Cage with almost anything.
Yeah, when we were doing Inception was hard for me. That one was a little bit more difficult to get to. No, we didn't do. Yeah, we did Nicolas Cage for that one, for Inception, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would have. We should have.
Yeah,
Hope
for
so.
some reason that one was a little bit harder. Nightcrawler wasn't real easy either, but because there's not very many actors in Nightcrawler. But
Yeah.
all right, cool. Time for this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
This is our section where we do our top 3 this week. Since this whole movie is about pubs and bars and drinking, we decided to highlight movies, our top 3 movies, where there is a pub or bar or drinking in it. And I will let Jen go first.
Well, thank you. So it's first in no particular order, but right away I have to put Shaun of the Dead.
Sure.
That just felt like I had to. And then Roadhouse, and then Beer Fest.
Oh, Beer Fest. Nice. I actually have we did Beer Fest not that long ago. I even have this handy.
What are you doing? We're extracting frog gamete for cloning trials.
You're jerking them off.
Yep, I have that at the handy.
Oh, I love it.
You never know what my soundboard has. There's a lot of stuff here. I mean,
It's like a box of chocolate.
like legit, I have 2,568 clips that I pulled from the for the podcast. I could, if I just hit play, it would be 20 hours and 37 minutes of just clips.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. Well, it just means the show's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Well, gosh,
And going strong.
I pulled a lot of clips from The Usual Suspect. Gracious.
Oh.
I'm just scrolling through. There's like 11 clips from that movie. That's crazy. All right. Anyway, gonna get out of there because that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down right now. All right. So my top 3 are I did Desperado with Antonio Banderas with that great joke about peeing at the bar. It's a great joke. My number 2 is Star Trek 2009, where Kirk gets beat up at a bar.
Okay, yep.
And my number 1 is Hot Fuzz, because I
Nice.
love that movie.
Yeah.
And there's other really good ones too. Probably, how about an honorable mention? It's not really a bar because it's outdoors, but the movie Hitman's Bodyguard, where Ryan Reynolds is talking to this local guy, drinking whatever, and there's just chaos going on behind him. It's a great bit. Twitter was fairly active on this one, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Twitter. Here we go. Let's see, Across the Stars Pod, which is the other podcast of our friend from the Attitude Era Wrestling podcast, Drew. He says Shaun of the Dead, any Western ever, and cocktails. And he said, yes, I'm cheating and getting 6, because he also posted earlier. I got to find it. As his other podcast, he posted Star Wars 4, Harry Potter's 3 through 7.5, and Beauty and the Beast. And then he said, well, I guess every Harry Potter has drinking. Do they all? I mean, I guess somebody's drinking. There's not a bar, though. Right? They go to the 3 broomsticks, like in the 3rd or 4th one.
Yeah, I don't recall. I'm not super familiar with the Harry Potter.
I've seen all of them a half dozen times. I don't think that
Yeah.
there's... Anyway, not a problem. Shoot the Flick says Shaun of the Dead, The Shining, and A New Hope.
Very good.
Open Pike, which is a Star Trek podcast, and Jesse, our good friend of the show, Jesse, manages that account, says Star Trek First Contact. He wrote in parentheses the holodeck where they're at a club, but he also could have said on Earth where Zephyr Cochrane is drinking a lot in that movie, where they they meet him for the first time is at a bar, and then he also says 2009 Star Trek where Kirk gets into a fist fight. And then he said Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, which more commonly known as the one with the whales. He just wrote California in the 80s, as in just in general. But there is a scene where Kirk goes on a date with the whale biologist at a pizza restaurant, and behind them there is a bar, and Kirk does order a beer. He gets a Michelob. So that's I got you, Jesse. I got your back. Philip, Scarecrow Miser, Crowmeyer at Flipwriter says Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that was almost gonna be my list, and I was like, I'll change it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we have a for us for the podcast, we have a rule that says that we can't name the movie that we're reviewing as part of our list. But we don't extend that to guests or anything else. So,
okay. Well, cool.
That's it. Thank you, Twitter. Time for this.
Wait, what's supposed to happen?
I was looking to see if we had any other. Sometimes we get messages on Facebook or Instagram, and I always forget to check those other places, but it doesn't look like we do. So that's fine. Time for that. The where we give the score from 0 to 10. What you got, Jen?
I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an 8. Because like I said, I've come around to this one, and this was just so much more fun than I remember. And it just takes that turn into the sci-fi, which you don't really expect. And it's just a lot of fun. It's really funny. It's so entertaining. And if you like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost individually or together, there's no way you're not going to enjoy this movie on some level. So, but again, out of the Cornetto trilogy, still third, but it's kind of trying to squeak up there. So that's why the 8.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm not going to go back and find out what my scores were for Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, but IMDb gives this movie a 6.9 out of 10, which, I mean, that's not bad. I think that's all right.
Yeah,
You know,
all right.
It's all right. Let's see. I'm actually curious what IMDb says, because Hot Fuzz says 7.8, and Shaun of the Dead is a 7.9.
Okay.
So I like it a little bit better than a 6.9. I mean, I had a really good time with this. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Nice.
And I think that's a pretty. How about a 7.55? That makes the math a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah. Giving it an average score of 7.775, which I think is pretty good. I mean, that works. I mean, that tracks right around what we gave Men in Black at a 7.9, or what we gave The Gray Man at 7.52. Another awkward pause brought to you by a sneeze.
Brought to you by allergies. No.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's the show. That's everything I have to say about this movie. Please, Jen, tell our listeners where they can find your show, and most specifically, the episode that I am on.
All right, will do. So you can listen to my podcast, My Streaming Buble, on just about anywhere you get your podcast fix. So Spotify, Apple, Podbean, all those places. You can follow me on Twitter at Streaming Buble. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram as My Streaming Buble. I'm not as active there as I am on Twitter, but you can still follow me there. I try and get on there once in a while. And then, if you want to listen to Shawn and I talk about the movie Nightcrawler, That is episode number 97 for me. And I did go back and like number all my episodes for my own sanity. And I figured that sure, that'll help listeners as well. So, yeah, that was a really good one. And then you guys can look for our conversation on Inception, a movie I had not seen. That one should be out, like I said, I think November 6th. I think that's a Sunday. So new episodes every Sunday. Woohoo!
Very cool. All right. That's it. That's the show. Next week, we start something completely different. Next week, we are moving away from the cheap scare reviews and we're going to, what did I call it? Cheap Trek reviews. We are doing a month of Star Trek.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So last November, we did a month of Star Wars. We've done all 9 films for Star Wars. Eventually, we'll probably do all 13 films of Star Trek. So far, we've done 3. We've done Into Darkness, Star Trek 2, and Star Trek 6. And the month coming up, we have next week, Open Pike joins us for Star Trek 5. Then good friend of the show, Steve Everett, comes back on to do Star Trek 3. And then Digital Dissection will join us for Star Trek Beyond. And then very special guest, Eric from Cinematic Sound Radio. We're going to do a full episode of just the music of Star Trek. I am so excited for this month. A whole month of Trek. It's going to drive Sam crazy. I love it.
Oh my God, that's so much fun. Way to boldly go. I love it.
We're going to boldly go where a lot of podcasts have gone before, but that's okay.
That's quite all right.
That is okay. But in the meantime, go to our website, cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com. There you'll find links to all of our social medias. If you want to get in touch with me, Twitter is the best place to do it. We have gotten a request. It's been a while since we've been we've actually gotten 2 requests recently. And one of those requests we are going to be doing in December. And I'm probably going to find time for the other request in either December or early January. I love getting requests from listeners. We don't get them enough. If you want us to do something, do it. The guests don't care. Usually the guests don't really, they care. They just want to come on and have a good time. But yeah, we got some requests. So if you want to get a request in, just hit me up on Twitter, send me a message there or email. But frankly, we haven't gotten an email in 3 years from a listener. I get them all the time from podcast promoters and things like that.
Those are the best.
Actually, this is a fun story to share. So I got an email from someone from iHeartRadio. And hi, I'm such and such, and I am with iHeartMedia and with the Spreaker platform. Are you familiar with it? Yes, I am. I would like to have a conversation with you about your podcast. I'm like, well, okay. Like, I know what Spreaker is. It's a way to kind of monetize your show. So we kind of go back and forth trying to find time to make this work. And finally, I'm like, hey, before we have a phone call or a Skype or a Zoom, whatever, like, tell me what the pitch is here. Because, like, you reached out to me, so I'm curious as to why you reached out to me specifically. Mm-hmm. And so she sends me this slide deck that she has. And one of the requirements is you must have 10,000 downloads a month. And I laughed, and I was like, we're nowhere near that. I'm just going to be honest. We've been around a long time, and our number is large because we've been around. We have 400 episodes, but we're not pulling in 10K a month. Mm-hmm. I mean, that'd be fantastic, but
yeah,
we're nowhere near that. So I said, thanks, but no thanks, and we moved on.
Oh, like so close. But...
yeah, so close. Just off by about 9,000 a month. Anyway, Jen, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on and just chatting with me. And
absolutely,
this was great. And we'll have you back on when we have the full cast, so you can get the full Sam and Andrew experience.
Woohoo!
So on behalf of Sam and Andrew and Jen, this is Shawn saying thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.